different than a lot of companies, and I would say most companies, but definitely the companies in crane and rigging. Coming from where I come from, it's a lifelong dream, to be able to excel or just have a small part in a company like this. Nancy and Dick Barnhart is the first two people that just get along and work good together. You live together and work together. I didn't think that was a case that happens because I've never been around nobody like that.
It definitely was a family affair. It benefited both of us. We worked well together, shared an office. It came together very well. And Eric and Alan got into it early on. They knew that they had their roles to play. It was very helpful.
It's been, my dad started the company back in '69, 50 years ago, and it was such a small little company with 3 or 4 employees and so forth, and now it's grown to be so big. But every step of the way, it's been just an adventure. So it's though I was a kid when it started, I was always fairly involved and always had great interest in what was going on.
I mean, our international corporate headquarters was 2 bedrooms of our home. So my dad would be at his desk sometimes at night working on stuff, and I would go in there, and that was my MBA program, was sitting and talking to my dad about how things were going and what he was doing, and he was very open to sitting around and talking about it and actually listening to ideas. And I can remember when he was going to buy a big crane, and he took us with him to Pennsylvania to the factory to see this crane. Eric and I flew up, and we were in high school. I mean, and so he did. So he let us be involved with stuff like that, And he probably would have done it without our involvement, but he let us be involved. And so it was anyway.
Off of that after my 6 weeks that they said you had to serve through the union. I wanted to quit, and I met Dick Barnhart, and I thought that was a complete difference. A great guy, mid-30s, and very let you do what you're capable of doing. And I thought, wow, this is awesome.
We had this big job working on the Schlitz Brewery. And JT right off just struck me just right. And within a month, we made this little apprentice into a foreman.
He's been hugely helpful for the boys, too. He continues to be just...
JT Hill is an amazing person, a gift from God to me. JT came to work for our company when he was really a young guy and worked for my dad for many years.
Now, if you want me to, I can drive like Steve McQueen. Go over. I didn't try to leave that off. Okay. All right. I thought I'd get a laugh out of you anyway. Get ahead of me too fast. There you go. You get bacon. All of these guys that you're going to be meeting is ones at the early stages of the company.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together, for all this food, this wonderful life you blessed us with for this country. Please bless our bodies, bless your service in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. What did you get? Huh? What did you get? Get it out there. Can't be no duck hunting. Nothing like it. Yeah. We gotta get out on the crane and rig it now.
Corn and vinegar. Herbs and herbs.
That'll work.
Wait a minute. That might be.
My parents are probably the hardest working people I've ever known. They started this little company, and my mother would be writing payroll checks.
A lot of weekends we would go to the shop and sweep the floor or clean or learn to drive trucks and run cranes. And we were running cranes before we had our driver's license.
My dad was a very positive critic. In a way, I mean, he was always a great mentor of developing good design practices.
Dick had me go to some tool place and pick up some tools. It was just a little old bitty box of tools, and it was $800 something, which in 1980 that was a lot of money. When I got back, I showed Dick that box. I said, "Man," I said, "them things are high." And I've always remembered what he said. He said, "Ricky, I always remember," he said, "tools are expensive. Men without tools are more expensive." And I've always remembered that because it's true. But this company wouldn't be where it's at without Nancy.
My mom is the ultimate partner, the ultimate helpmate, the ultimate worker. Whatever my dad was doing, she joined in. And she was there, and she physically worked. And
We'd have trouble with cranes, and on this particular crane, if the outrigger, the extend retract button, sometimes it would stick. When it stuck, it wouldn't do nothing.
yeah.
And Nancy had heard us talk about that on the radio so many times. One day, we sitting in a crane and somebody was on the 22-ton and they couldn't get it to do anything. And before I could get on the radio, Nancy picked up the radio and told him, he said, "Check that extend retract toggle switch for the outrigger," said it'll be stuck. And that's what it was, but she remembered all that stuff.
When'd you start?
69.
Why did it take us so long to get you over?
1970.
And Ricky, he's been with us since.
Been there 34 years, so whatever that comes up to.
That's probably.
I enjoyed most of it. I got pushed into doing some things, and I grew a lot, and took on a lot of responsibility I wouldn't have taken on any otherwise.
Me a lot, because I had a little greenhorn when I come in there, and felt like I might have been when we left out, but I really was blessed during my years with Barnhart.
I think when we started thinking about sailing, I'd see these people on sailboats and thinking, that looks like a thing to do. I had never sailed before.
his management training program was they go down to the Caribbean on a sailboat, and we would stay for the winter months and run the company. From when I was 23 and 24. So after a few years of that, they said, we're going to get a different boat and we're going to go around the world.
8 years off and on, but mostly on to the South Seas and Tahiti and this, that, and the other. Just the two of them for the most part, and just living the dream,
We had been exposed to a Swan 46, and that is the boat that we sailed around the world on.
Away from the load line.
A little more complicated than what it looks like, probably, to be on the inside of something. We usually work on the outside of it, so it's a new experience for us.
When my dad left, a chunk of our ability as a company left. He was the guy that knew how to do steel erection projects, and we didn't know how to do them. It was right about that time that the pyramid came up for bid. And it was also right at that time that my wife and I were going on a mission trip to Korea and to China. And my parents' boat was in Hawaii. And so we made our flight so we could go to Hawaii, spend some time with them, and then continue on our trip. And I took these drawings for the pyramid with me. So we get there, and I said, Dad, this job's about to bid. I said, we're not going to do it unless you want to do it. So he started looking at it and he said, yeah, we'll just park the boat in Hawaii and I'll come home and do this job.
These huge trusses, 340 foot long, were assembled up in a parking lot and then brought down to the site. And there would be so many sidewalk superintendents who would say, this can't be done. And it went beautifully.
The pyramid was my dad's kind of crowning achievement. He very much wanted to do that. In fact, he interrupted his sailing adventure for a year and a half to come back to Memphis to bid and then erect the structural steel on the pyramid arena.
I just put together a plan that we really made work. Well, they kind of worked their way into it, from the time they were teenagers. It's all summers they worked for the company, and by the time they got out of college, well, when we left on our long trip, Eric was 27 and Ellen was 25. So that's pretty youngsters. But by that age, they had 10 years experience. So they were well into it and very capable.
Alan and I have kind of gone separate ways to some extent. He's very much the CEO, head of the business, business planner type, and I am so far away from that.
I think I have a fairly natural ability to make deals and to look at value and figure out pricing and things like that. So I think those things come somewhat naturally to me. Finding guys that are smarter than I am, more talented, and bringing us together where we function well as a team.
I've been on the specialty tools thing basically my whole life.
My brother is much more naturally gifted in that area than I am. He's a genius when it comes to that kind of stuff.
If it's a really kind of a subtly fabulous, in my view, idea, the person I really need to talk to about it is Alan. Alan's the smartest man I know.
I know enough to be able to talk about it with him and encourage him on. He has the head that so many of the ideas come out of.
Eric is a lot of fun to work with. He has ideas that, like, I never thought of it that way before. It's a great idea. And so it's fun keeping him on track and keeping focus and say, hey, we got to solve this problem and not that problem is always a challenge.
Oh, he's nuts. Is he around?
Eric Barnhart is phenomenal. I mean, when one of the owners of the company is the dirtiest guy on the job and he's working harder than anyone else on the job, working people just respect that.
He's probably top 3, at least, of rigging engineers on the planet.
It's been a really big blessing for me, not just in my professional growth, but just, in my life in general, to have him and have his influence.
Alan is good at projecting, overseeing, looking at things 6 months, 1 year down the road. This is what we need to be doing.
I think Alan gave a lot of confidence in letting you go chase the things that you felt like were important.
I've never worked for a company when Alan Barnhart, the owner, is down the hall where he knows me by name. He says, "Good morning, Kim." That's an amazing feeling for me.
My experience is that Alan Barnhart is the consummate level 5 leader. I mean, he is that blend of humility, extraordinary humility. And he also leaves no stone unturned to grow the business.
And then in 97, I think it was, we just kind of rocketed up. And it was a time when they were building lots of these gas turbines around the country, and we started buying more and more equipment, and we were all over the country putting in these gas turbines. It was probably 50 or 60% of our business. And we grew rapidly, and we had massive problems.
Thunderbolt lightning? Was he? Well, it's the same thing. Every time we walk in, someone's having a conversation, we don't ever acknowledge them. They just walk in and sit there. We're not ready to greet your buddy when he walks in. Hug him, get up and hug him. The Black Atlas. Remember that guy? Yeah. Hey guys. What's up? Hey Jeff. Jeff. Man, good to see you. Jeff. James. How you doing, man? Good. Good to see you. You guys been here long? Forever.
Forever. That's a great point.
Tell me the story, Barn.
I'm kind of a from the hip kind of guy. I'm not big on systems and processes and standard operating procedures, and that's not my normal DNA. And the company reflected that.
We could do one or two teams really well, and then when we got to the second or the third or fourth team, we could have some accidents, and we did have some accidents. So in '99, we said, we're gonna have to change our trajectory or we won't be a company anymore. So part of that change was process.
And where we used to build things pretty much for just our jobs, the transition happened that when we would build things, what was in a paper mill on the last job went into a nuclear power plant on the next job or an oil refinery on the next job.
Part of that change was we need to have 4 teams that do the same job the same way. Where before we might have had 4 teams that did the same job different ways and very different outcomes.
I had to buy in ways that I didn't to some of these systems and processes and safety stuff. And I had to become a believer in it, and I had to communicate it.
Because it was a small company, and I walked back into a big corporation 10 years later. Amazingly had changed.
We were a handful of branches spread out in a few locations. We became a national name, and all of a sudden we are one of the major rigging and transportation companies in the country.
Even our customers, and we'll talk to them about, we'll survey them after we do a job and say, how do we do on safety? How's our equipment? How are our ideas, our communication, and our crew, or people? And people are always the highest rank. I mean, that's the best score. So that's a confirmation that we have good folks.
Well, maybe this could go on another role somewhere because it doesn't fit. And so I'm just going to talk to you guys. But one of the greatest privileges of my professional life has been serving the Barnharts. They are, in many ways, the leaders of this concept, this idea of how to press into integrating your faith and your work. They have been willing to take steps that, from somebody looking on the outside, looking in, they think, wow, that's so sacrificial, or wow, how did you overcome that fear? But on the inside, if you ask them, they would say, there was no fear.
Catherine and I were actually thinking about taking some time away from the business to go on the mission field.
The godly man that married us said, wait 1 year, be married for a year, and then pursue the mission field year 2. And so we were working our plan up until his father came to Alan and proposed something different.
They came to us and said, we've decided we're going to get on a sailboat and sail around the world.
Alan would need to take the company, or we'd need to sell the company. I was thinking, oh, no debate here. We have a plan, we're working our plan. Alan really took his father's proposition to heart and gave it consideration and determined that we would start a new company with his father's employees, with his father's equipment.
And I came away with really 2 primary takeaways. And the first one was this whole concept of stewardship, that everything I've got has come from God. And then the second thing I came away from was that the fear that business success could be detrimental to my life.
we had a little meeting, two of us out on a crane job, a power line job, in the back of his little Datsun pickup truck, and decided, if we're gonna do this, we're not gonna do it so we can get rich and have a big house. We're going to do it for the glory of God. It was from the very beginning, we made the pact that we weren't in it for the money. We weren't going to expand our lifestyles as the company prospered if it did, that we were going to always use the resources, not ridiculously, not just give everything away and not be able to build a company, but to reasonably share the fruits of God's gifts to us on it and allow us to also build the company.
Alan heard my name and invited us, to join their company, but said, let me tell you, we're a little odd, and then told me the purpose, why they exist, and what they hope to accomplish with the company. And it just fell right into kind of our view of what work should be. Work should have a greater purpose.
Most of the time I'm dealing with rough construction workers. But when you get a chance to sit down and talk to them, it's amazing how happy they are to be working for a company that does what it does with its money, with its profits, which you would think coming from a field guy, you'd never hear that. But it's good. The guys take a lot of pride in it.
The benefit is both doing what we think God wants us to do, and along the way, because of that, you get to meet so many other godly people around the world doing great things. We're just a piece of God's economy. We're the ones that do our part to generate resources, but there are other people that take those resources and share the gospel.
Alan's obedience to the scripture and how that's kind of played out has had a huge impact on a lot of lives, including my own, just in terms of my own personal stewardship and the gifts that God has given us.
The world is, as we know, it's a very dark place at times, and to know that people care and want to see others' lives changed by the money that we can generate.
And I think that's motivational for believers and for unbelievers. I think for young guys, I think they want to make a difference in the world. And we provide a place where they can.
I found it really rare to find a place where I can come and hone my engineering skill sets, hone problem-solving skill sets, and get a glimpse of what God is doing around the world.
You don't have to be a Christian to work here. You still get the benefits of our purpose. And our purpose is to make everybody better, make everybody's family stronger.
I've never worked for a company who has their faith involved in what they're doing. So to work for a company that not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk.
Situations happen in people's lives, and how we respond to them and differentiates us as a company.
We contribute money into a fund and help people when they need, situation in their life that might be beneficial to them. To me, that's pretty important, and it's pretty cool that a company would do that for employees.
Look what's happened in 35 years. You would think, gosh, that's extraordinary. But really, we've been doing the same thing every year, being invitational to Barnhart employees and spouses. Come be a part of this. Come help us. If you looked at Grove, you would see 80 champions that are employees or employee spouses of Barnhart, giving away, processing, partnering with hundreds of ministries to the tune of over $1 million a month, getting close to $2 million a month.
The normal thinking is, I have earned this, I have built this, and it all belongs to me, and then I make a decision to share, to give it some amount back to God or to serve His people. Man, you flip that around and you never owned it at all. You're simply, God's allowed you to steward some portion of what He's provided.
they're all about generating a profit. That's not something that's happening on the side. That is central.
I would say produce as much as you can produce. Be great, use your skills and gifts in God's service. I'd say all of us are in full-time ministry. All of us who are followers of Jesus are in full-time ministry.
God's given you people around you, and to use those people, invite them into the process with you, both in making it and, Alan will say we want to work as hard giving as we do making, and be as good at it. So it's not a chore, it's an opportunity, and to use the same people to do it is a good thing.
Hold everything you have with an open hand. Acknowledge that God owns it all. That is the reality. You're going to take none of it with you.
It's a missional purpose in their own life to be a part of this. How extraordinary is that?
It is a difficult job. This is very, very hard work. We're going to execute it, and it's going to last for 3 days. So the show lasts 3 days, but all the behind-the-scenes work and all of the demobilization on the backside is where a lot of hard work is done to make those 3 days successful.
But it's fun.
It is fun, yeah. Yeah, it is fun. My saying is, we're not here to watch the show, we are the show.
It can start generally speaking. How about that? And drill down into the day of life.
We're about to get on this road, and you can.
Yeah. Is that okay? Start that way. Yeah. So we work across lots of industries. Most of our work is done in heavy industry, and those major industries serve energy. So you got fossil power, you got nuclear power, you got wind power, you got wind maintenance, refining and chemical, heavy metals, steel industry, pulp and paper. Hydroelectric, lots of varying industries, and then you got light manufacturing, the food, pharmaceuticals, and other light commercial facilities.
I work with great people. They care about each other. With Barnhart being as big as they are, there's always somebody that can help you. We stick together, we kind of do it as a team, and we need to get stuff done to get it where it needs to be so customers and people in general appreciate.
I think that service is company-wide. I lean on certain branches when some of our newer branches have questions that I'm not able to answer. I tell them which branches to call because those admins are more experienced and can help them. So we're here to serve them in every sense of the word.
Guys in the field, craft guys that work together, they work together every day, they stay out of town together, so really they're more like family than they are co-workers.
There's so much coming in and out every day. It's not one day is exactly the same, and you get a lot of opportunity to see and to learn.
Barnhart's Barnhart, right? No matter where, if you go from California to New York to Florida, the guys all know the work, so it's nice to have regular Barnhart guys. After a day or two, you get over the joking around or the accent thing, or you're from here and I'm from here, and then it gets to be fun, and then, you just fall right in with each other because everybody knows their job.
The people here really do genuinely care about you as a person, and so when you have, things going on in your personal life, we're all here to kind of help each other out and do what we can to ease that burden.
To grow their skill, to grow the potential of the company is huge. And when that's done well, It's a marvelous thing to see because people are investing in others, the company's getting better, people are growing, and we fulfill our mission. We become better.
We're helping the infrastructure of our country stay up to speed and efficient. And I think all that's fun. I mean, I really enjoy getting to come into work every day and do all that.
That's what we do. We're very good at understanding how the work needs to be performed once we understand what it is that needs to be done.
Y'all ready? All right, for Monday, we got a crew going to Newport, Memphis here in town. Got a rolling home report with a 60-ton setting a generator for the airport. Riggers out the back. We're having them packed, 196.
The work is hard. There's lots of work in the heat, lots of work in the cold, work in the rain.
This company was built with sweat and tears. So I'd say I spend 95% of my time out in the field with the guys.
Not a separation between guys in the field and guys in the office. Our engineers have gloves in their truck. I have gloves in my car. You know, I mean, we'll go out and physically work.
Definitely, if someone is thinking about coming here, you just have to be a kind of person that really wants to work. We work hard in the fields, just like we get it done here. We wouldn't exist without the guys in the field, so they definitely work hard, and we just all pull up our sleeves and go to work.
I love it. Anything that's a challenge for me. I love challenge. I love things that are different every day. The more that we have to really research and find things, and I don't take no for an answer. So for me, you know, if I'm gonna get a no or hit a brick wall, I'm gonna find another wall to knock down.
Making sure that the guys have everything they need when they go to the job sites, and making sure that they get back here and get home safe, in as good a shape or better than they were when they came to work that day. Very satisfying work when you look back at the end of the day and see what you've got accomplished and have a delighted customer.
Yeah, I love the people here at Barnhart. My time in the field really helped me grow a relationship with those guys, and that's a relationship that's transferred into the office with me. I have a really good working relationship with them, and I'm friends with them outside of work.
I'm gonna say this with Barnhart, you gotta wanna do what we do because it's unique. And if you don't want, then this is not the place.
Just lean it right against that map. There you go. There you go. You want to use brown spray?
That may not be the simplest one to explain.
Yeah,
what's
it's going to
going
be
on.
pretty complex.
We thought we had a really good solution with a cantilever, but it just wasn't the best.
That's right.
So able to come in here and, you know, get past the allure of the cool tool down to what's the best tool for the job.
And so would there be a reason not? It's the collector bars.
Because we have so many different ways to do the work, we not only look for the best solution, but we look for the next best solution.
It's very comforting when you can go talk to a customer and you feel confident in what you're bringing to them. Our toolbox be little bitty to growing so large over the last 15 years. It's really amazing.
We're being asked by our customers to lift things that weigh 1 million pounds or that are tucked in a deep, dark crevice of the plant that they have no clue how to figure out how to get out, and we have this super deep toolbox, and we have a super deep roster of people that know how to get lifts done.
We bring out the Barnhart tool catalog to them, and they go, wow, that's gonna be a really, we can, gosh, 2 months ago we did this job and it was a mess, but if we had had that tool, gosh, it would have been great.
Engineers spend hours, weeks, days working on these things, and they come in here.
That
and
doesn't frustrate you,
Kyle.
Kyle,
Does
does
it,
it?
Kyle?
Come in here and just
They get blown away.
You gotta walk past this way, though.
Oh, keep going?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just this way.
All right.
You've done it. You got
Okay.
it. Good work.
And-
There you go.
We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 50 branch locations all over the United States.
One year, I had 37 states.
Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota.
From Seattle to Connecticut.
Idaho, Houston, Georgia, Memphis.
For the last 50 years, we've had a lot of success as a company. A lot of things have gone well, and we've been able to compile a great team. We're looking at the next 50 years.
For select accounts, we call them top accounts, what can we do to continue to do work in those facilities year over year so that they become what we would call a key repeat annuity account?
Our CFO has an expression that he's repeated, and that is, oak trees don't grow to the sky. We have started looking at acquisitions, and really over the last 7 or 8 years have gotten a lot more serious about acquisitions.
That has been a huge benefit of getting significantly larger, is you've got a lot of guys that are pulling in the same direction to come up with solutions.
When we were tracking in the 12 to 14,000 range, I believe last year we did 22,000 individual projects or jobs for roughly 8,000 customers. And that spans all those different industries.
We think the next 50 years is going to be way better than the last 50 years. I think that we've had a lot of success, but I think our best times are ahead. And we're looking at that with a long-term perspective.
Culture is what you experience.
The door's open here. You can be whatever you want to be.
Thinking, figuring out a better way. We're a solutions company.
Each person has the opportunity to invest in others. We really encourage to get to know the person you're working with.
As the company has grown, we've endeavored to keep that spirit of innovation, creativity. There's always a better mousetrap.
We have our great group of folks. So we got a lot of work to do to figure out how to take this group of people and continue to push forward.
I'm just glad to hear you say what you said. But I don't think I was really aware that the influence went that way. The JT got some good influence from me, and he transferred it to my boys. I hadn't heard that before.
That's what he said.
I'm delighted to hear it.